Hi, folks. You're with Tassless today, your pushback channel. And thank you for joining this audio, no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast as you're driving along in your car, your truck, or put in those earbuds and take it all in public transport. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the response of Indian, as in the Indian subcontinent, Indian nationalist, Hindu nationalist media, and how they are presenting and lying horribly, in my view, about the riots and protests and the discord in Britain recently. Now, their opening sort of position is that the white people are out for blood. They want blood, and they present it as that white people are insanely racist, bigoted, and xenophobic. Uniquely white people, by the way, and they're particularly xenophobic about brown and black people for no reason, just they're straight out evil fucking xenophobes, fascists, Nazis. It would not be out of place in 1930s Germany. And so their presentation of it is incredibly one-sided, and they've got this interesting and quite unique sort of Indian chip on shoulder type situation, where if the presentation, in certainly the ones that I've seen, the media is hysterically anti-white, then that's not racist. But if the white people do anything that potentially could lead to, not is, but could lead to something that might disadvantage Indian nationalists, then it's about as fascist and Nazi and xenophobic as you can get. So they like to hold the position that they are so morally superior that they're beyond the sort of levels of opprobrium that they direct towards the morally inferior white people. Now, remember that it's driven very much by the sort of the Brahmin type view of the world, that they're demigods and so on. So, but their coverage of the protests in Britain, now they do concede that the children that were murdered in that dance class in northern England, so they do concede that happened. But they say the riots were kicked off by scurrilous and evil and Nazi misinformation, saying that the person was a recent migrant. But in fact they weren't. They were the children of a recent, or the child of a recent migrant. Now that's, in my view, that's even worse. Now if the recently arrived migrant hates England and white people, that's one thing. But if their children who were born in Britain, who've lived there all their lives, hate Britain to the point where they want to run around murdering people, murdering children in this case, and doing so sort of in a frenzied, kind of out of control manner. It's not like it was they've got a problem with a person or a individual that might have wronged them or something like that. This is just indiscriminate type stuff. Then isn't that worse than if it's a first generation person? That means this person's been born in Britain, has had all the advantages of a Western first world lifestyle, and all the handouts and social welfare handouts and all this sort of thing, and yet somehow they hate this country, but they don't want to go back to, if they hate Britain so much, they went around killing children by white children, why wouldn't they want to go back to Africa or Rwanda or wherever it was that their folks came from? Why wouldn't they want to do that? I understand that. Why do you want to stay in the place that you hate so much? Anyway, so they concede that, but they say the misinformation was that the person was mentioned on social media briefly, not for long, was mentioned on social media as being a recent immigrant, but in fact they weren't. They were the child of recent immigrants. So based on that, and I think something of a technicality, but anyway, it was incorrect. Based on that's being seized upon. This is put about by white people, evil white people. So these evil white people are saying these things and putting around this misinformation, which is stirring up racist hate and bigotry. So now the commentators go, or the Indian nationalist media, they go straight to the racist, bigot, xenophobe thing. They don't say, well, this is for decades the British people haven't wanted this, and it's been forced upon them by a globalist government without their consent or agreement, that over the same time the standard of living of British people has gone down, purchasing power wise of the paycheck has gone down by 2/3. In all the big cities now in the UK, they're surrounded by people that have formed racial enclaves who don't want to integrate and so they don't mention any of that. That's just the problems that are occurring is straight out white, evil, fascist, Nazi, xenophobic, bigot. That's it. That's it. There is no other explanation, no other cause factor, nothing else to discuss, no debate. That's the problem. And so as brown people, the Indians, as brown people, we are therefore the victims of this racist hate and bigotry. Well, no, you're not. There's no attempt to say, well, we as Indians have an absolute right, a complete and total right to go to all the white Western countries in whatever number we choose, whatever numbers we choose, for whatever reason, at any time we choose to do it. And any questioning or pushback against that is an example of racist bigotry. Now, I don't know how you even come at that thing in the first place, but this view that we have these rights, and therefore any who would question it or oppose it are evil, racist, fascist, Nazi, bigots, xenophobes, Hitler, and that's of course quite absurd. But this is how they present it, and the little lines that they throw in. These white people are out for blood. They want blood. No, I don't. I mean, the absurdity of that. And I'm sure there are plenty of people in India, if not many millions of people in India, that might believe it. And then they go on to talk about how these white people are lurking in the shadows. They just lurk in the shadows, waiting for the opportunity to be racist. Oh, fuck. Now, there's no pushback or questioning any of this, and they're allowed to pump out this insane propaganda. But look, this is pretty consistent with the sort of globalist propaganda that the BBC or the Guardian would put out. There's not really that much difference in it. And so when you look at the propaganda styling, the delivery, and the claim that there's Nazis everywhere lurking in the shadows just waiting, as insane as that is, but they won't admit to any of the problems that caused this. When there's black people riot, there's this tendency to say, well, what are the reasons? What are the causes? Let's see if we can solve the problem so that they won't riot again or don't need to riot. And there are no solutions to the black rioting, certainly that I've seen. We want lots and lots of free stuff forever. We want waterfront mansions. We want hot blonde chicks. We want nice cars. We want the lifestyle that the rich white folks have. We want that. Give us that, and we won't riot anymore. And that's hardly going to work. That's not a realistic expectation of anything. But the why do white people riot? They don't even ask why. There's no sort of discussion. Well, gee whiz, I mean, these white people are usually quite sober and sensible. Why are they rioting? Let's have a look at that. Instead, they go straight to the Nazi, straight to the xenophobe. These people are inherently evil beyond. You can't imagine the evilness of these people. And they're just expressing and acting out this evilness. And that's to be expected. They're evil to the core, to the fucking core. And that's why they're doing this. And that's the explanation. And that's all we need to know. Let's get on with the next news story. And that's really the level of absurdity that we're looking at. No, not simply, I mean, I'm picking out the Indian news media, but you could look at it in places like, Nigeria. The Nigerian news media actually aren't far from that same position. And if you look at the BBC, the Guardian, and that sort of stuff, they again parrot. So it just the Hindu nationalist, Indian nationalist media just happens to be in reasonable lockstep with the globalist narrative and messaging. So given that there's not much difference between the two, then it would suggest they're on the same page. Now, there, of course, are divergences. For example, if Hindus riot or protest in the UK, then they have genuine grievances, and it was the evil white people just forced them to do it. the racist bigots forced the good Hindu Indians to protest. So they take a completely different view. They're absolutely justified. So, but this is really the message around the world. White people are increasing propaganda and narrative-wise are increasingly being isolated by an international narrative cabal, and whether they're exactly on the same side and same message, as in the same script, or simply share the same. Indians want to be able to go to the West in vast numbers, and anything that may possibly hinder that or disrupt it or reduce it is considered as nothing more than an abominable outrage. So they happen to be on board with the globalists there without necessarily sharing the globalist views in other ways. But that's what's going on in the world today. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback Challenge. Thank you for listening.